Now we're going to have the next session, the panorama on AI, with 4 members in the panel. So I will invite first Patrick Gatellier. Patrick is not only the coordinator of AI4EU. Okay, this is the main thing for today's discussion, but he has a very strong and long background on informatics. He, in his career, was involved through Thales mainly in large projects, informatics projects like the French tax administration and others. He runs also an innovation center inside Thales, and he's also the AI4EU coordinator. So please, Patrick, take one of the seats. We also have with us Thomas Hahn. Thomas Hahn is coming from Siemens. Thomas is a senior software expert in Siemens. He is advising the board of Siemens in issues related to AI, IoT, big data, and also other initiatives. And he is currently also the president of the Big Data Value Association. So please, Thomas, take one of the seats there. We also have with us Theodoros. You have already met him in the keynote today. And Arnaud, where is Arnaud? Arnaud Gotlieb. He is also from from Simula, the research laboratory from Norway, with a lot of expertise in industrial research. He is in AI4EU, and he is responsible for running for the work package that coordinates the pilots in AI4EU. So, Arnaud. So, as long as we are waiting, there are several initiatives in Europe related to artificial intelligence. AI4EU is one of them. Okay, you heard about ELG, the European Language Grid. There is CLAIR, the Confederation of Artificial Intelligence Laboratories. There is, what else? Alice. Yes, there is Alice. There is, these initiatives are mainly associated to scientific and research aspects. On the other hand, there is, as you have heard before, also from Irene, there is BDVA, Big Data Value Association, and EU Robotics, and this public-private partnership on artificial intelligence that is coordinated by the two associations, BDVA and EU Robotics, which is about to start. So there are various initiatives and others that I'm not mentioning here. And so I will start from Patrick. So there are all these initiatives, research, industrial initiatives. How we can find an optimized way in order to build, to exploit the existing initiatives through AI4EU.
So, very simply, we are in the second phase of the AI4EU project. The first one was to start delivering something, and it occurred end of September, because it is very difficult to anyone to propose ideas or to contribute in front of a blank page. So we delivered the first version of the platform. We were a bit running on this, and so we had some user requirement, but not that much. And we are now in the second phase where we are discussing with the help of the European Commission with all these organizations, BDVA, Eurobotics, ELIS, CLAIR, Human AI, and wish to involve them into the development of the platform and the organization of the community, including the AI Alliance, because we are going to have a strong partnership with the European AI Alliance, which is more around ethical issues and socio-economical issues, but this is extremely important, as you have seen this morning, and as you know, probably. So very simply, next year it will be the year where we open the discussion and the talk with both the technical, scientific organization and business organization. Just one very simple example. In a meeting with all this organization 2 weeks ago, Paul Lukovics, which you will hear tomorrow, which is one of the main AI member of DFKI in Germany, the Artificial Intelligence Research Institute, agreed.
Head of the Human AI, yeah?
And of course also
project,
the leader of the Human AI initiative, where we contribute, proposed and agreed to set up a source repository for technical people, a GitLab repository within the platform, so that research developments and development from European organizations and European labs will be hosted in a European platform and will be managed by the European research community.
Okay, thank you, Patrick.
Sorry,
and this goes to you also, Thomas, on behalf of BDVA, the other basic initiatives and the new initiative that is about to start, the AI PPP.
Yeah, okay. Thanks a lot for the question, and also for George, because I have one opportunity which I want to raise now in the panel, but I said it not before, because then I jeopardize our panel. So I want to make the news which we can do together now. Yeah, maybe coming back to your question regarding how we can leveraging the different initiatives, and Patrick mentioned one of the joint meetings we have had with a different community. What I will do is I will have 3+1 part. So +1 is the opportunity for which we can do together, and really with the platform you have here. Other three parts I want only to raise when you're speaking about AI, and it's a little bit the opinion of BDVA, but I'm very sure also from the company perspective that AI will change the game in a very short time. Meaning, when we're looking at our network, research, companies, small, big ones, where we have the knowledge inside, where we have also to face new opportunities, then we have to react fast, because all around of the world they are very fast and proceeding forward. It's driving us. It's driving us as companies. It's driving us as responsible for project or initiatives that we have really to do this, and it's driving, of course, let's say, as a commission. So what happened in the commission? Only to reflect a little bit, and then we'll go really on the hottest and news regarding this, you know. And you mentioned this before. Euro Robotics on BDVA got roughly 1 year ago, December 7th, the task to work towards an AI PPP. In brackets, however, this will be filed at the end. So, and what we have done up to now is we filed 2 strategic research and deployment agendas. One was somehow to kick it off from Euro Robotics on BDVA. The second one we enhanced with IoT, with the EFRAs, with the projects, with the research initiative, which you mentioned, and let's say filed a second version to have some basis about where we're speaking about an AI framework, working areas, and so on. To have something where we can start with. So it's a second topic which you raised, and you mentioned this. We got the task from the Commission, and all of us got the task, also not only Euro Robotics and BDVA, but also Claire, Alice, Euro AI, Human AI, AI4EU, maybe I forgot one, Robotics and BDVA, to set up an AI PPP. And this is at the moment where we are, let's say, on the way. That's maybe why I'm a little bit tired, because I'm at the moment regarding these topics, 36 hours of the day I'm spending on this. It was a joke, but nevertheless a lot of time. So we are just setting up a proposal for the AI PPP. So that's what we are writing together at the moment, where we are thinking about how the structure can look like, how the AI part, the data, and the robotics part, also the embedded part, I always like also to, because there was also one question regarding, this is also on premise. We are writing at the moment a proposal on this. Timeline, only to give you a feeling, this proposal should be ready December 12th. That's the newest information from, so to say, tomorrow, from today in the morning. So we are synchronizing this. And now I'm coming back to my 3+1 topic. And I think, and that's the reason why I not raised the hand before when George asked for opportunities to set up a community inside your platform regarding this AI PPP to get, because we are writing down our opinions, but we are not perfect. But nevertheless, to get from you the feedback how we can structure this. It would be really a good opportunity to use your platform, the AI4EU platform, to set up a users group, or however this is described, exactly to start this discussion. And maybe Patrick could be a task for both of us when we have some, let's say, some baselining for the documents ready. Then we push it outside and get from all of you recommendations and hints, complaints, wishes, or what else. But this would be, from my feeling, a good opportunity, and also a hot topic is more how we set up the community. But when you ask for, how you phrased it, for an optimal way leveraging existing communities, optimal is always a little bit problem. That would be the way to do it.
Okay. Thank you, Thomas. Just to stress again, as George did before, you can already use Slido for issuing questions to the panels, and this will appear at the end of the panel session. So we talked briefly about collaboration between the various existing initiatives. Europe has some special characteristics with respect to AI in comparison to the other areas like US, China, and so on. One of these has to do with research. It is always said that, especially we're talking about AI, Europe has a great research, basic, applied research, basic mainly, but we're not doing so well with respect to commercialization like it's happening in other places. So Arnaud, you are an expert on industrial research on AI. What is your opinion on that? How we can bridge the gap?
Yes, first of all, thank you for stressing the fact that AI research is very strong in Europe. I really believe into this, and I also believe that Greece has given a lot to AI through many years now. Yes, this topic of industrial academia collaboration is quite close to my heart. I've been working in that area for more than 10 years now, especially leading experiments with many companies in Norway, but also in Europe. And from what I learned from this experience is that it should be based, or at least in my opinion, on 3 pillars. The first pillar on which such successful industry academia collaboration should be based, in my opinion, is early exploitation. So, which means that we shall, from the very start of a collaboration project, think of how we will exploit the results that comes from research. The second pillar for me is co-creation. And it means how to co-create with research partners and industrial partners. And this is also something we should think at the very beginning of a project, trying to figure out what are the means, what are the ways we can use for fostering this kind of collaboration. The third pillar is long-term collaboration. So if we establish a collaboration between industry and academia, we should think of establishing over the long term. And because I'm leading work package 6 of the AI4EU project, and we have not talked a lot about those pilot experiments with the platform.
This is the pilot's work package, yeah.
This morning, I just want to mention that there are 8 pilots, and this is exactly the strategy we plan, or we have started to develop into the work, into this work package. So early adoption. And for that, we have created strong internal roadmaps for running the pilots with the platform. Co-creation, so we have pilots. All the pilots, actually, the 8 pilots are led by industrial participants, Thales, Siemens, but also Technicolor, Telenor, and many others. And we have started co-creation because those industrial partners, they work from the very beginning with research partners in those activities. And the third pillar, which is long-term collaboration, we would need to figure out if those pilot experiments are successful over the long term.
Okay, thanks, Arnaud. How about you, Theodore?
So,
because you are coming from a business school,
yeah.
you are giving courses, AI and data science to business
Yes.
people and companies and so on, and executives.
Yes. Although at heart I'm a machine learning researcher by training and by research for many years now. Excellent question. I guess the broader question is why Europe innovates less in terms of commercialization, not in terms of theory. You go to machine learning research and you will see some of the best mathematics coming out of French universities. Amazing mathematicians to begin with. They get all the Fields medals to begin with, but beyond that they do lots of amazing research in machine learning theory, but not in commercialization. So I think this is an old question. I'm not particularly hopeful, I must say. And the answers we've been talking about for decades now regarding ecosystems and clusters and the fact that you need in the same place, both the clients and the researchers and the funding and the financial infrastructure and everything, the whole ecosystem. We've been talking about this, so I don't want to repeat the same thing, only to say that unless this ecosystem is there, there is not much hope, and so there is no need to repeat that. And in this community, cannot do much on that. So what can we do? So we cannot do much, for example, on how the financial markets behave, right? Because at the end of the day, to commercialize, you need to have you need to be able to see the end of the tunnel. Commercialization means exit. Exit means somebody has to buy you or you go IPO, right? Otherwise, what's the point of commercialization in some ways? So if the exit is not there, and so this links to macro issues regarding markets, for example. So I'm not going to go there because anyway we have no leverage on that side direction. However, I'm going to point out two important things. One on the more connected relation between, let's say, faculty and researchers in the universities and companies. So across countries in Europe, everybody, at least I talk to, and I'm sure, maybe there are differences between different countries, but there are constraints on faculty of university to work and generate revenues outside the university. This is, in plain language, ridiculous. Right? There are no constraints in the US. You can triple your salary and your job from just working outside. You can quadruple, whatever. Right? There are no limits. So this is a simple thing that has to change. The movement of research and faculty between research and academia and industry has to be more flexible. So movement of people and actual incentives to commercialize and to create financial incentives, right, to begin with, beyond the impact, of course. So that has to change. So that's one thing which I think we need to push. Second point is on the skills side. So coming from a business school, I see lots of engineers. More than 50% of the people who come to INSEAD for an MBA or around there are engineers by training. And of course, you see there that it's extremely important to have the engineering mindset and skills, but it's equally important to have kind of lateral thinking, which comes from understanding a little bit the business aspects, the industry competition aspects, competitive positioning, pricing, marketing, all those things that need to be put in place to commercialize. So lateral thinking and training, so skills is important. It's pretty crazy that in Europe, we still don't have flexibility in university education. You enter in a degree, you are stuck in that degree. You cannot even switch or do a double major. This makes no sense. Unless you can move flexibly when you are between your training years across degrees and generate lateral thinking, and collaborate as we discussed in the morning or mentioned in the morning in the disciplinary, there is no hope. We need lateral thinking and business understanding. So skills, two things, skills and porous relationships between research, academia and industry are very important. The macro issues, anyway, we don't have much leverage on that, but it's always there. So.
Okay, thank you, Theodore. Another distinctive characteristic for artificial intelligence in Europe comes from the Commission, from the European Union. As we have heard in various events, the motto of the European Union with respect to AI is the human-centric AI with respect to US and China. So all the issues related to regulation, ethical issues that we have already started discussing. So what do you think, Thomas, on behalf of BDVA or industry?
Okay, when you're speaking about ethical AI or human AI or trustworthy AI, and to be honest, I have had also the opportunity to participate during the AI Alliance Assembly meeting in June on a panel versus ethical guidelines or the pilot phasing of the ethical guideline was started. I think when I'm speaking, I think it could be a real differentiator for us and also a competitive advantage. I'm now saying this also, let's say, as Siemens, but I will speak also later about BDVA. We are also, for this reason, in the deep dive piloting phase, where we're looking at the 131 questionnaire, adjust this, looking this, what is maybe covered up to now, like, for example, functional safety, security regulations, GDPR, we may use this, but anyway, are covered, and what is the real difference which we have to look inside. And I'm really the opinion when we make this in a clever way, that could be a competitive advantage. Because also regarding the huge discussion about GDPR, but we are also asked from outside of Europe how we adapt this and what is the advantage what we go. So this is really a possibility. Of course, we all let's say requested to name it adjust this questionnaire. That's the reason regarding the deep dive, which I mentioned, or as BDVA, where we posted out also to all our community. Please look at the public consultation, adjust it, because at the end, when we make it in the clever way, it could be really a competitive advantage. And by the way, fits very well to our European values. One is, let's say, the knowledge which we have in different domains, but also, let's say, the attitude which we have in Europe to do something sustainable and, let's say, in a European value way. And that's sure that we can turn this in competitive advantage.
So you consider at the end all these discussion about regulation and ethics as an opportunity, and not as a barrier?
No, we can change this in an opportunity. Let's do it together. That's let's say when you're speaking, I give you two examples. Maybe very precise. When you are I'm coming from manufacturing domain, so I apologize. When you have a manufacturing system which have to fulfill functional safety, that nobody is hurt when he is close to a machine or the machine regulations. So fine. Then you're using AI. And you are thinking about that during the lifetime of the machine, for certain reasons, the behavior of the machine is maybe modified with machine learning. And to think about this, how we can put this in a clever way with the functional safety regulations to enhance the functional safety regulation, that's an advantage for us. Because when we're doing this, then we have really some competitive advantage for this. That's what I was thinking. I mean, the same is, you know this much better like I am, when you're looking at the train business, where you have maybe in train in the beginning before you put in operation, you have to fulfill some regulations and have to commission the train to make some security check. But nevertheless, you can optimize this, the train during the runtime of the train, make it more efficient. But nevertheless, you have to look, is it still fulfilling the regulation for train or functional safety? And here we have really, with our know-how, think about my first sentence, we have so now, we can build it up in a clever way to have some advantage out in usage AI, in an ethical or safe way, or however you describe it, and to get some benefit, some competitive benefit for us out of this. Also turn it around. So why always thinking about, is this a nightmare? No. Use what we have, possibilities we have.
Okay. In the last BDVA forum, and this now goes to Patrick, in the last BDVA forum, one of the speakers was the president of Nokia. Okay. And there was a discussion between the president of Nokia and some program officer from EU about the concerns on regulation and so on. And I remember what he said. He said that he had concerns about working always on regulations and so on. And finally, he said that we may have at the end the regulations, and the others, the US and China, have the money from the commercialization of AI solutions. What do you think about this?
Well, we can always caricature things. We can always be very schematics. So, first of all, Europe is a wide market. And regulating in Europe has consequences elsewhere. And we can see that with GDPR. Lots of people say GDPR are blocking business. Of course, if you are willing to do wild business, whatever you wish, the way you wish, regulation are a barrier. If you are willing to do fair business, to do fair things with respect to people, what we call trustworthy AI, what we call human-centered AI, then it's an help, and it will diffuse. And we see now that in US there is a lot of talks about we need regulation. And eventually there will be US regulation, the way our regulations are good for everyone in the world, which is more where we are more sensible in Europe because we are 28 countries and we have a multicultural issue. And I was having this reflection this morning, listening to what was said, which is we are here in Greece, and we are in a country where values, knowledge about people, philosophy exist in the mind of people, exist in the flesh of people from the school, because we are here with the history of Europe. It is the same in Italy in different way. Wherever you turn your head in Italy, you will see some reference of the past. And so we have clearly in Europe multiple interpretations of the world and trying to adjust them into the AI components, to have this value reflected into the way the AI system are providing answer is our way of doing AI in Europe. And at the end, we know that people from the rest of the world will say, why do they do that in Europe, in their product, and not us? So it is, for me, a very strong competitive advantage.
Yes, you want to add something?
Yeah, maybe fully aligned. We have also some sustainability or attitude, European attitude, which we are asking. By the way, I can tell you I'm also in some kind of manufacturing industry initiative in Germany called Industry 4.0. We are requested from out the world what we are doing, how we are doing this, what our values, how we are doing this. So that's the reason why I'm saying, let's turn it around. That's an opportunity, and let's make it in a clever way, and that will be a competitive advantage.
Just something I may. So this whole discussion reminds me of corporate social responsibility. CSR started years ago. In the beginning, everybody had exactly the same discussions we're having today about AI, only eventually to converge that it's all about, it's not being good or doing well, it's about doing well by being good. And everybody's on board for CSR, 10 years later or something. So the same will happen here.
Right. Okay. So we discussed about quality research in Europe as a distinctive characteristic, about the ethical, the human-centric issue and the regulations and so on. Another distinctive characteristic of Europe is the fact that we don't have the so-called unicorns, the big companies in Europe, but we have a large ecosystem of startups, of entrepreneurial activities, small companies, and so on. And I will use the words of Morten Irgens. Morten is the co-founder of CLAIR, the Confederation of Laboratories for AI Research. He said in a recent report that he believes that in order to strengthen AI innovation and build an AI industry in Europe with our characteristics, we should focus on AI-driven disruptive startups and scale-ups largely supported by venture capitals. So, Arnaud, what do you think about that?
First of all, I very much agree with what Morten Irgens has said. So I think that we really need to find ways to somehow foster the adoption of the best AI component, AI research by an industry. And one way to do this is not only to exploit those research results, it's also to create startups. So I just want to mention, and this has been said this morning, that AI4EU actually has a strong willingness to support this process, especially through its industrial committee. So we have this industrial committee with 12 very large companies in Europe. And there is also, within this industrial committee, the willingness to create an AI industrial alliance, which will foster, which will help to find, ways and means to finance actually startups creation. Another thing that has been just briefly mentioned this morning is this AI4EU open calls part of the project. And there will be very soon a call for challenges that will be released. And once those challenges will be released, and those challenges will be mainly determined by this industrial committee, probably, but there will be an open call for, calling for projects. And those projects could be formed, only by startuppers, by researchers, students, actually anyone who is interested into adopting AI within the AI4EU platform. I think that those open calls will be really the place where it will be possible to foster startup creation and scale-ups, in addition to the other part of the program, which will consist to use the industrial committee and this venture capitalist circle to find funding for helping those startups to become unicorns, perhaps in the future.
Okay, thank you, Arnaud. These are initiatives related to AI4EU. What other instruments you consider in order to enhance this, to improve the situation?
Yeah. First of all, let me go to the quote you said, and just for a change or for fun, completely disagree with that quote. Okay. I think if you are in Europe and if you want to do a startup and you stay in Europe and you don't go to the US, you are crazy. The moment you go on the other side of the Atlantic, your valuation goes up 3 times and your funding goes up 5 times. And your market goes up much more. So you are crazy not to do this if you are a good businessman as a startup. I don't think, and the reason this happens is not because the markets on the other side have a bubble necessarily. It's because I'm going back to the financial markets, including the venture capital and private equity and eventually the acquirer. It's big fish eats small fish. Who is the big fish who will acquire you in Europe? Right? There is big fish in the US who will acquire you. And this goes backwards from the public markets all the way down to VC. It's a connected system. It's not only VC, it's all the way up to the public markets and how deep the markets are and how efficient all that. So you are crazy if you are doing startups in Europe. Let's start from that as a starting point. Europe should play on its strength. The strength of Europe is industrials, is automotive, is pharmaceuticals, is deep industry. It's not financial markets, it's not online companies. Who cares about online companies anyway? We all hear about the Google and the Amazon and the Netflix, but this is like nothing, right? Okay, the huge valuations and all that, but that's not interesting. The interesting part is what happens in healthcare, what happens in pharmaceutical, what happens in energy, what happens in automotive, what happens in like anything, right? So the industries, manufacturing. And that's the strength.
Mainly B2B, not B2C then, eh?
For example, retail is also potentially big. I mean, we have also big retail companies, of course. And the innovation should be very close to, back to a cluster and system kind of view, right? So the strength of Europe is on that side, so all innovation happen on that side. Startups, given how the investments and the valuations are, I mean, why would you bother? I mean, there is no reason to bother.
But it's a large percentage of EU economy, eh?
SMEs are a large percentage,
SMEs,
not startups,
not
SMEs.
Yeah.
Many of them are like, family SMEs and family business, a huge part. Mm-hmm. But that's exactly what you should play on. Now, of course, SMEs and AI, I don't know how we manage that, because SMEs, to begin with, don't have the data. So I'm not sure how AI can affect SMEs, which is a big part of the economy, but that's a challenge to solve, given how important SMEs are in Europe.
Perhaps through exploitation of data produced by bigger companies. Hmm?
Right. I don't know, but that's something to focus on the characteristics of the European economy, which SMEs is one of them, for example. Now, in terms of instruments, we go back to, again, the intangibles, the training, the skills, always the same, right? The advertisement, look at how much brand capital American companies have versus European companies when it comes to technology, right? The branding is like, if you don't know the brand, how are you going to use it to begin with? So that's intangible investments. which is, funny enough, in this case, just on simple advertisement or branding, right, or whatever it is. So these kind of investments are important.
So I would like to have Thomas and Patrick's opinion on that.
I was also, but thanks you. I was sitting a little bit on my seat, but you're right. I have also a lot of discussion with Morten. He's, by the way, also writing with us the AI PPP proposal, which I mentioned in the beginning. And with Morten, I'm, let's say, in favor with Morten with this pentahelix model, where I say government, I phrase it in this established industry, small and big one, startups, investors, and research have to be involved and have to cooperate. But coming back, and I mentioned this also in my previous speak, or in the intro, we have also to focus on our strengths. Not neglecting that we have new opportunities. That's the reason why I'm also saying startups is important. But we have to look at our strengths. And you were saying before, when we were speaking about an exploit or strengthen or of AI, we have to use how we bring the industry with us, also the established, and not forgetting the new ones. I will not ignore this. And only to give you some numbers, and I know only this number from Germany, I apologize. In Germany, is 23% of our GDP is depending to manufacturing industries. You mentioned
what is the
something.
percentage again? I didn't
23%.
23%.
And now comes a more important number. 80% of this 23% is from small and medium-sized companies. Also not from the Siemens, from Germany. No, we have also some portion. Yes, of course, but the huge part of the German GDP, 80% is coming from small and medium-sized companies. So we have to look inside how we can really make the scale up with them, how we bring this up. Again, not forgetting the startups. And when we do this in the right way, also what we discussed before, focus on the strengths, using our attitudes, like we discussed, I think we have opportunity. But again, not forgetting that we have new business opportunities. That's always what I'm saying. You have to be careful. You mentioned this, I think, with a business models, and therefore, I can only give you an example. We have started also an initiative regarding new digital business models, looking what are the value chains today, what is the different steps, what is the parts between the different supplier, production, platform provider, only to make it quite simple. What are the connection between them? Where is data flowing? That's maybe coming back to your question. What are new business opportunities where we can place platform business inside? So we have to look at it, what is our strengths, where we are, to look what are new business opportunities, scale it up with the strengths we have, which we have, and not forgetting what are the startups.
Although we have thousands of startups,
yeah.
They're called SMEs.
Yeah.
If we can scale
Exactly.
those up, that's much more interesting than doing a startup from scratch.
Yeah.
Patrick, what do you think?
Well,
Sorry.
there is a strong debate about startup and SMEs, and when we talk about SMEs, in France, SMEs are more 50, 100 people, while in Germany, SMEs are more 500 people.
Can be, yes, yeah.
200, 300, 500. So first of all,
in Greece, it's less more.
yeah. So first of all, the definitions are complicated. When I think about startup, and I more or less agree with you, Theo, my knowledge about startup is that when you are a startup, you work 20 hours a day, you are 3 or 4 people, you are extremely focused to delivering what you have to deliver in difficult conditions. Many of them do not succeed, etc., etc. So this is the first thing. And the second thing about SMEs and the current organization in Europe is some kind of digital divide we may imagine with AI. So our main concern should be to raise the awareness about AI in traditional SMEs, companies, to help these people to evolve toward AI-aware product. Because traditional standard ICT people, AI is extremely difficult for them to do. How do you add AI in a product you have been doing, saying that your main competitors are doing like you and you are trying to get 10% advantage on this or that, performance, whatever, rather than trying to think of it. And I have a very good friend who has an excellent traditional company doing printing business on various things. And many times I asked him, why don't you do some AI? Why don't you do some innovation? And he said, but where will I find the people? Why would they come here? What will I do with them after a 3-year project? Etc., etc. So we have to address this. And addressing this, we will make bigger value, will grow value everywhere in Europe.
Okay, thank you. We have also discussed about skills, okay? Skills for people working in companies, in research organizations, and so on. How about, I have heard somewhere that we need to adapt an all in Europe approach. So involving also train as many people as we can. So we had a discussion last night at dinner about how we can involve more people, not only for AI, but for the European Union values in order to be shared by everyone. How we can achieve this with respect to AI? Arnaud, what do you think?
I'm afraid there is no general recipe for that. I'm afraid, at least in my opinion. But I strongly believe that human relationships that we can create in Europe is probably a key to what we can achieve all together. And if I just look back a bit, and if we look, for example, at this great relationship which was created in between Alan Newell and Herbert Simon, one of the two main pillars of our AI community. They got the Turing Prize for their general problem solvers. Actually, this is mostly based on their human relationship that it was possible to make emerge such great ideas. So I just want to mention that for me that's the most important thing on which we should try to create and to build in this project in particular. And it is quite interesting to see actually that the first function that was available on the platform was the Collaborate platform. That was the Collaborate platform. That was the function on which we can just connect all together. We can just present ourselves. We can just try to find the right skills to start discussions as well. So I think that's in my view the most important thing. It's also very valuable if we want to retain talents, if we want to make talents to come back to us. I think that creating on this relationship, human relationships, is important, especially in AI.
So what do you think, Thomas? Can we retain all this talent in Europe instead of them leaving to US or other places? Just based on human relationships.
No. Okay. First of all, I agree with you when we are speaking about and also the different initiatives and collaboration, open collaboration, and I think it's needed between organization initiatives and there are people in the background. So let's say that for me, when I'm speaking about the AI PPP, I said always, look, we have to get an efficient network, how we're working together, and in this efficient network must be other people at the end. The people or the skills, and I'm speaking also a lot with, now I have to briefly put my Siemens hat on the body with talents or to get talents. When there's something interesting, they will stay. So we have to look, and that's a responsibility for us that we are creating or offering interesting jobs that they will stay inside Europe. So I think that's for us what we have to do. And let's say we can do this not alone. We have to make it in cooperation, like mentioned before. We have to cooperate. You mentioned some kind of I don't know, some kind of cooperation project with industry, with university and industries, and we have to make this attractive for them to stay. And the attractiveness is one when you see a future. When you see a future in AI, and that's the reason why I'm at the moment, or we all heavily are working towards to have this AI running with the strength in Europe, because this is, let's say, at the end, which makes it attractive to stay here. And of course, then you have the other things that you get also earn something and so on. That's always when you're healthy, the economy, then you have also some other benefits out of this.
Patrick, what do you think? Will the
Well,
money be enough?
I will agree with most of what has been said. And then I will insist on something else. I was thinking that was the first time I went into a computer fair in US long ago. And in this Las Vegas computer fair, suddenly I saw a lady passing with a hammer, a screwdriver. I said, wow, we would never see that in Europe and in France. And this is the point. This is the point. This is a gender issue. We have to make this career for ladies interesting and facilitated, because today we are in a men's world. We have to say that. We are in a men's world. And it is difficult for women to accept to be working.
In the panel also, eh?
Yeah. So let's do it, and we will have half the world more people available for AI.